By the decade, the global gun revolution has grown in size, volume, and destructiveness. Only a few machine guns in history have a legacy. Is the gun that every military feared the most the M2 or the OSV-96? Stay tuned to find out. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Before we get into the video, kindly note that the information provided in this video is for educational purposes only. Without further ado, let's dive in. Engineers John Browning and Fred Moore set out to develop a large caliber version of their existing M19 17.3006 caliber machine gun in response to a World War I requirement in 1918, which saw the American authorities attempt to copy the success of the French Hotkiss M1914 11mm medium machine gun for the anti-aircraft role. The result was the US machine gun caliber 50 M1921 of 1921, which was chambered for the massive 12.7mm cartridge. The new machine gun was categorized as a heavy machine gun and worked on short recoil concept through a closed bolt function when it was introduced in 1921, years after the war had finished, the war having ended in 1918. Originally, it was a water-cooled armament system that allowed for a long burst of fire to keep the barrel from overheating. This obviously requires a consistent cool water supply to be used. The weapon was chambered for the .50 BMG Browning machine gun cartridge, also known as the 12.79mm NATO, in the post-World War II world, and fed via the upper receiver via an ammunition belt. The .50 BMG was a large cartridge with a rimless bottleneck shell formed like a typical bullet. It was also first released in 1921 and credited to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, with whom John Browning collaborated in the years leading up to his work with the Belgian firm Fabrique Nationale. The weapon cartridge combination went on to become one of the most devastating and vicious weapon systems of all time, with dozens of national militaries and irregular forces using it in countless notable battles around the world. The M2 weighed 121 pounds with the water jacket and water cooling system installed, with a rate of fire of 450 to 600 rounds per minute. After being put into service, the design was updated to produce the M1921A1 designation under the Colt brand. It wasn't until the 1930s that a new Browning machine gun, the Browning M2, was released. But this early version still used water cooling for the barrel, but introduced a new water circulation system along with the barrel jack. Beginning in 1933, Colt began mass-producing Browning machine guns on a large scale. An air-cooled variation was developed to be used in airplanes during the same decade, coming up to the World War II, and it was also dubbed the Browning M2. This was a definitive entry in the Browning heavy machine gun line. While the air-cooled variant was capable of firing the .50 BMG cartridge, it was only able to fire 75 rounds before the barrel overheated and fractured. The M2HB, guys, was created in an attempt to address this issue, and this version was given a stronger barrel assembly to help dissipate the natural heat buildup. This resulted in a larger weapon system, but one that can be fired for extended periods of time. A quick change mechanism was introduced to the barrel assembly to further alleviate the barrel heating issue, allowing an operator to replace the heated barrel with a cold one. This function came to be known as OCB, Quick Change Barrel. Prior to and during World War II, the M2 became a staple of the American military armory. As a defensive and offensive offering, it was used in a variety of ways. The AN M2 served in fixed and flexible mountings within the US Army Air Force fighter and bomber aircraft, as well as being the weapon of choice in combat vehicles like tanks. The machine gun was exceptionally efficient as an anti-aircraft, anti-armor weapon, capable of decimating anyone unfortunate enough to come in contact with it. As the conflict proceeded, specialized vehicles with several Browning heavy machine guns and traversing turret mounts were developed as ad hoc anti-aircraft, anti-infantry measures. The weapon might also be used to suppress fire as an infantry fire support measure, though this would necessitate numerous crews to manage the weapon's complex operation: gunner, ammunition, handler, and transport crew. The M2 also used an anti-aircraft weapon on a large number of naval ships without losing its effectiveness. The range was 2,000 yards, yet with care, targets could be reached as far as 2,200 yards, and sometimes with a little bit of luck. At 2,900 feet per second, the muzzle velocity provided outstanding penetration values at range. Versions for aircrafts could fire 800 to 1,200 shots per minute. Troopers considered the M2 to be suited for long-range sniper roles in some cases, and upgraded their M2s with proper optics. Carlos Hathcock, a US Marine, used this modification to get a great advantage during the Vietnam War. Despite its World War I origins, the superb Browning M2 was built by General Dynamics and Ordnance in the United States, as well as Fabrique Nationale in Belgium and Manroy Engineering in the United Kingdom. Since 1921, it is projected that 3 million M2 units have been produced. Many of the subsequent generation heavy machine guns created by US allies owe a debt of gratitude to the tried and true design of the M2 Browning, which was built by master gunsmith John Browning and tested in battle. The M2HB is officially known as the Browning Machine Gun Caliber .50 M2HB. Since 1933, the HB model has been in service. When used in anti-material rifle configurations, the .50 BMG cartridge has proven to be beneficial in long-range sniper roles. The Barrett series of heavy rifles, which are used by US and others, nicely exemplifies this. Because of its efficiency in dealing with enemy personnel and armor from a distance, the anti-material rifle has become a common part of many forces around the world. In response to the enhanced version of the M2 Browning, the US Army formally adopted the M2A1 designation in October of 2010. The M2A1 project arose from the 2012 XM806 program, a General Dynamics heavy caliber development that was being evaluated to replace the original Browning design. A redesigned flash suppressor, improved bolt assembly, manual trigger block safety, a quick change barrel function, and an optional carrying handle are all included in the M2A1. Existing M2HB machine guns in the US Army will be upgraded to the new M2A1 standard, which will total 45,000 weapons. Well, that sure is one hell of a gun. Let's see if the OSV-96 can keep up with the M2. The Russian OSV-96 is a standard large caliber anti-tank anti-material precision rifle system with a traditional design. It has a pistol grip, padded skeleton shoulder stock, forward carrying handle, integrated folding bipod behind the barrel, and optional optics, as well as a huge detachable box magazine fitted into the bottom of the receiver. To help soften recoil effects, the long-running, free-floating barrel is topped by a massive slotted muzzle brake. The firing action is based on a gas-operated system with a revolving bolt mechanism and a semi-automatic rate of fire, which allows the user to fire off multiple bullets without having to manually manage a bolt. The box magazine holds 5x 12.7x108mm rounds, and traditional iron sights to back up the optics to retain capability if the scope fails. The weapon's overall length is 1,746mm, with a 1,000 meter barrel assembly and a range of 2,000 meters. The weapon, which was developed in the 1990s and first deployed in 1996, is now in use by Russian intelligence and special force groups, as well as Indian Special Marine troops. The anti-tank anti-material rifle is a rapidly expanding category of heavy weapons on the modern battlefield. These weapon types can be used to assault a variety of high-value targets or emplacements that are lightly armored or protected. Optics allow for precise shooting at distance to the point to where the operator can disable crucial systems on a vehicle, such as war tank or a structure. To put the significance of large caliber firearms in perspective, these weapons can cut clean through engine blocks at a distance. The OSV-96, like most anti-material rifles, is a dimensionally big and massive weapon system that requires particularly trained personnel to operate. Although the weapon is meant to fold at a barrel receiver for increased portability, its size and weight remain a concern. Because of the weapon's inherent severe recoil, which is common when shooting such big cartridges, firing is usually done from a prone position, with the rifle balanced on its bipod assembly and the buttstock tucked underneath the operator's shoulder. The OSV-96, like many large caliber rifles of its type, produces a loud and visible explosion effect that in some situations may reveal the position of the firer to the adversary. However, the sheer penetrating capabilities of such huge caliber handguns mitigate this to some extent. Well, what are your thoughts on the US Browning M250 BMG and the Russian OSV-96 12.7x108mm? What should we cover next? Do let us know in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and press the bell icon to get notified about our newest videos. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other videos. Until then.